Hey folks, Cheap Prepper here. Sorry about the dreary looking video, but power just went out about, I don't know, 5-10 minutes ago. Um, if it's off for like until tomorrow this time, I may have to figure something out because, I mean, that's about how long I can probably survive here. Um, I don't know. Hope it comes back on at some point. I mean, it's supposed to be warm tonight, from what I heard on the radio earlier, 40s or something, or low 40s. Um, Tomorrow's supposed to be nice, so I'm not gonna freeze, but if this goes on too long, I don't know. I mean, the definition of bugging out at this point would be going to a homeless shelter. I mean, that actually brings up a good point. Those out there who aren't prepared enough to survive even 3 days are unfortunately going to be forced to find somewhere to go. Homeless shelters, FEMA camps. If the government manufactures a disaster to force people to accept the fact that the only place they have to go is a FEMA camp, then what are the people going to do? Take a chip in their hand and give up? What? I mean, people have only so many options before they have to say, yeah, I guess I have to do this, or what? I mean, there's no option. Yeah, power's out. I'll probably add another little bit to this video to tell you guys how long the power was out, I guess. I mean, even the light on my utility pole here in the yard, that's out. So, hopefully, I'll be talking to you guys again soon. Power's back on. When the power went out earlier, my first thought was, how long am I going to be able to survive in my current location with no power? My wood stove isn't hooked up yet. That kind of limits, or that would have limited my cooking ability to nothing. I wouldn't have been able to use my microwave, or right now my microwave is my only cooking appliance. Water would have been an issue. Earlier, before the power went out, luckily I had stored up some water. I mean, maybe enough to last me 2 days. But yeah, I wouldn't have had heat, food, and eventually I would have run out of water. So, I believe the way I'm going to put my videos together following this clip will be the anaerobic digester supplies.
Hey guys, just sitting here. I made up a cup of coffee, and my microwave, because right now that's my only useful cooking appliance. But I wanted to make a little video on a methane project I'm going to be working on in the spring. I'm going to get a lot of supplies built up ahead of time so it might actually work. But I got this bin under my counter here, and it might just look like a bunch of cut up paper and old magazines and whatever. That's exactly what it is. Basically, that's going to be used along with, I don't know what that was. Hopefully it wasn't something broken. But I've got a bunch of stuff sitting here that needs to be cut up, and I got a bag of stuff, and I don't know if you can see that. It's a bag of newspaper and stuff. But basically, what I'm going to be doing is making a, what do they call that? An anaerobic digester. You know, I've worked on a couple different designs, and I think I figured out how I'm going to do it. And hopefully that will be what I'll be using to cook with come next year. So, as you can see in the last clip, I've made a good little dent in the stuff that I need to cut up for my bin of whatever you want to call it, supply or stock. It's going to be used in conjunction with leaves and pine needles, and best way to say it is feces, I guess, shit, basically, in an anaerobic digester to create a gas called methane. If you look up on YouTube, and you'll see a decent amount of videos trying to show how to build a methane anaerobic digester, or different ways of building the machine. I mean the digester itself, because there's different plans. There's different designs out there. Single hopper designs. Basically, you know, you use a bin like this with a sealed top, and if this had a top on it, it would have a tube, some kind of vinyl tubing, come up out of the top and into some kind of like propane countertop stove or into a generator. I'm going to be using a two-hopper or a double-hopper design, where I have something like this with a bunch of stuff in it, shit and paper and leaves and pine needles and cardboard, everything that would be considered a waste product. And it gets filled, say it's, you know, I don't know if you can see it that well, but all the organic matter would go to maybe 3/4 of the way up, and then you just add, you put some water in there, and what the water does is gets it to break down quicker. And, well, in my opinion, it gets it to break down quicker. And once you get all your organic matter and water and the sealed top, I'm not going to be using this container. I'm probably going to be using either 5-gallon buckets or 55-gallon drums, depending on what my financial resources are. But we'll just use this bucket for example. You get the sealed top, you get your vinyl tubing, because the methane, basically, the anaerobic life forms, once this is sealed, will start processing the oxygen first, and then it'll start processing the actual organic matter in the container. And methane displaces oxygen. So basically, well, I haven't really, got too deep into it, but I read a book by, I'm not sure of the author. I'll do a little end of video description on how it all works. But once you get it all sealed, you get the vinyl tubing coming out into the second container, which is filled, I don't know, probably 1/2 to 3/4 of the way up with just water. And the second container is going to be sealed, just like this one. And the vinyl tube has to go in through the top with some kind of sealant around it into the water. And that creates what's called an airlock. And as the first container is producing methane, it flows through, down through the water, and into the cavity at the top of the second hopper, second container, whatever you want to use for wordage or vocabulary. Then you can run a second line, either another vinyl tube or I don't know, whatever you want to use really, to a compressor. And then from there you can fill anything really. Tires on rims, modified soda bottles. Modified soda bottles don't really have a high PSI count. I mean, you can probably get like 2 or 3 PSI into a soda bottle. I'm going to be using probably air tanks, or in one of my other videos, the driveway video, I showed a blue air tank. It's actually a water tank, but water tanks, the way they work is they use air pressure to allow you to actually utilize the water from your well or city water, whatever. It's all basically the same setup once it's into the home. But basically that's the methane, which I think the compound designation is CH4. It's 1 part carbon, 4 parts hydrogen, and it's the let's see. Like I said, I'll put a little end clip at the end of this video talking more about it. But yeah, I've been working on this for, I don't know, a month or two. And it's a pretty slow process. Pretty much what I do is I'll take like a magazine. I'll show you here. I think it's Us Weekly. My grandmother gets a subscription to Us Weekly. So on a weekly basis, I get at least a magazine, maybe some newspaper, and I usually take like, this is a pretty thick page, but I usually take 2 or 3 pages, cut it down the middle, and then those 2 pieces I cut down the middle, and I'm able to cut it up, I believe I'm able to cut it up much faster. But it all goes into the bin. I've got some cardboard, I got a little bit of newspaper down there, I got that bag which has, looks like some newspaper and some cardboard boxes, and then I got this bag which has newspapers, an empty cat litter box, an egg carton, a few other things. But yeah, that's about it. Talk to you guys in a second.
Alright guys, the reason I put the power outage clips and the anaerobic digester methane clips together was because they kind of tie in together. I'm probably going to be using the methane in a generator to charge a battery bank, so that I can start to be off-grid and, you know, excuse me, basically powering my home from leaves and pine needles and paper and shit. Hey guys, I just wanted to do a end of video clip, kind of sum everything up. But before I did that, I wanted to go over some of the details and specifics of methane, and a little bit on how an anaerobic digester theoretically works. In my handy-dandy dictionary, methane is basically defined as a colorless, odorless, flammable gaseous hydrocarbon. Its designation is CH4, and it's a byproduct of decomposition of organic matter in marshes and mines, and can be used as a fuel. Pretty simple definition. Kind of gets the idea out there of alternative fuels and all that good stuff. At least in my area, local grocery stores have like a little area near the front of the store where people can bring in books, and others can come in and give a little bit of a donation in a bucket and pick up a couple of books for pretty much next to nothing. Well, I picked up this book. It's called Environmental Pollution and Control. I might get the author's name wrong, but it's P. Arne Vesseland. Here's the book. If anybody can actually see the title of the author. That's what I'm guessing as P. Arne Vesseland. But in the book, it talks a lot about a lot of different things. Specifically, Chapter 5 talks about wastewater treatment. About 9 pages in, it talks about solid treatment and disposal, and it goes into kind of an in-depth look into anaerobic digester and different ways that they can be built and used. Now, the two-stage anaerobic digester that I'm going to be building at some point has three main byproducts. It has methane, which we already know is going to be used as a fuel, cooking, and maybe a generator or whatever. There's also a liquid byproduct. This is basically as you transfer your waste after you've cooked all your methane from the first stage of the digester to the second stage, your solids are going to settle to the bottom. Obviously, the liquid's going to stay to the top. And what I'm going to try and do with that liquid is basically run it through like a mini still. Basically purifying the water. The leftovers are going to be whatever byproduct. Not really sure what it's going to be considered. But the solids will basically be, raw organic matter with no digester use left to it, or very little. Now that solid matter and the leftover from the liquid purification process, those are going to get mixed together, hopefully, to make a good kind of a topsoil almost. That's what I'm going to use to grow my garden. A friend of my grandmother's has a bunch of old 5-gallon buckets that I'm hopefully going to be using for a portable garden. I've got some seeds left over from last year. I didn't really use a whole lot last year because I was growing in bad soil, but this year I'll be growing potatoes, corn, radish, a couple other things. Maybe some flowers. I think I still have some flower seeds left over. But also I'm going to try and grow maybe some apple trees. Not sure how that's going to work in 5-gallon buckets. Maybe do some bonsai apple trees. I don't know. It's possible. But basically what I'm going to do is, because I think it was my intro video, I told you that I don't have, a regular job. I trade my time for goods or services of others. Unfortunately, living this lifestyle of barter trade, I don't usually have a lot of money. Sometimes I can turn in some scrap metal and get a few dollars and get a few things, but in order to get food, I have to get food stamps. People will probably say, well, you're not a prepper if you get food stamps. Well, right now, I'm just starting out, man. Not everybody has one of the great skill sets, I'm a gardener and I trade, a certain amount for, other stuff that people trade with me, or, I'm former military, I can work a security job, or I'm a medic, I can help people with, whatever a medic, a nurse or a medic does. I don't know. I'm not a medic. Not to say that those skills aren't necessary. But right now, I have really no skills. I mean, I can edit good videos. You guys might be able to tell. I can edit some good videos. But besides that, I'm kind of just starting out, you know. Last summer, I grew corn, which never came to fruition. I mean, if I had picked it at the last of it, it probably would have only been a couple inches long. I did grow a few cucumbers, though. But yeah, with food stamps, basically what I do is I buy a lot of canned goods, box goods, bulk is my main priority. Like, when I buy coffee, I usually buy instant. You know, it might be a little bit more expensive, but I don't feel like going through filters or making a pot of coffee. I want a cup of coffee, it's, 3 or 4 minutes away. When I buy creamer for my coffee, I buy the biggest container I can get, because per weight, I'm saving money. Same with sugar. Usually I buy a 10-pound bag of sugar a month, and sometimes it lasts me the month, sometimes it doesn't. But, yeah, eventually, within a year or two, I want to be self-sufficient. So what I do is, I buy in bulk, but I also buy things I wouldn't normally eat, fruits, vegetables, whatever, specifically fresh, so that I can get the seeds from it, I think I've got some apple seeds saved. I think I'm going to try and get some watermelon seeds. I know it's the black ones that are, the ones that'll grow up. The black seeds from watermelon. I might get a few things that I probably will never even think about eating, just for the seeds, so that I can start growing these things. Some of them might have to be grown in a greenhouse. And that's another thing. I want to, there's not a lot of space on the property I live on. I mean, it's my family's property. They're eventually going to build, let's see, in the plastic wrap video, you saw me on a gravel pad that's just out front of this house. That's eventually going to have a house on it. So that's going to severely limit space available to grow a garden, or utilize space for a greenhouse. I might try to talk them into, building up. On top of this place, this is, let's see, on the outside it's 12 by 24. That'll be a good sized greenhouse if I look at it. In its current condition, it couldn't support it. From the plastic wrap video, you saw that there's a big hole under the house, basically. At some point, that's going to get filled in with more gravel. But, yeah. So, I'm just starting out. Trying to get a lot of things together in a short period of time. Winter's coming, so I'm not really going to be able to do a whole lot of scrap metal. What else am I going to say? I don't know. I'll probably do another video at some point. Just chatting you guys up. Just keeping my mind active of different videos that I want to do. And, oh, I know what I wanted to talk about. The friend there that I traded my time for the wood stove. He just took a 275-gallon propane tank, or kerosene tank, and he's a fabricator. He turned it into a wood stove. That's the biggest wood stove I've ever seen. I mean, something homemade anyways. I've seen the ones that, they're outside of the house. No, his is in his basement, dirt floor basement. And he built a shroud around it because the heat, he wants to, well, he's already got the pipe hooked up, and he's got a fan hooked up for it, but it's going to suck the heat, not suck it out of the basement, but it's going to pull it out of the basement and up into the first floor of his house. I'll try to get a video of that at some point. I'll have to talk to him, but yeah, I just thought that was cool that he, completely fabricated from scratch. Yeah, I hope to get that video so you guys can check it out. But until next time, it's Cheap Prepper. God bless you and yours.